Israeli basketball fans around the country are celebrating because former NBA All-Star Amar'e Stawdamire has finally announced that he'll be moving to Israel to play for Hapoel Jerusalem. Joining us now is Israeli NBA basketball commentator Simi Riger to talk about how this big news will change the face of Israeli basketball. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
So to begin, were you surprised to hear about Stoudemire's retirement from the NBA and decision to come here to play in Israel?
Well, he made a decision to retire. And to me, it was obvious he was coming to Hapoel Jerusalem because he was part of management 3 years ago. He had a piece of the club, which he now sold to back to Oriolon, because it's, you're not allowed to be an owner and a player. And it didn't surprise me at all. To me, it was very obvious. He's been in Israel a couple of times. They speak English here. He's going to be in Jerusalem, which is, for the Americans and all Jews all over the world, is the Mecca of the world, and his kids can get along very well because everybody gets along in English. TV is in English, movies are in English, streets, signs, everything. They'll get used to the hummus and stuff like that, falafel,
yeah,
but
I
it'll be okay.
definitely don't think there'll be a suffering. Why do you think that he's chosen to move here? I know these are a lot of reasons, but he also has a very strong connection with Israel because of his background as well, correct?
Well, he converted to Judaism years ago, out of his own free will. Nobody asked him to do it to come to Israel to play basketball, as other players have done in the past. He became a Jew, he stayed in the NBA, he was very proud of it, came to Israel. First of all, I haven't spoken to him, but he's obviously a religious guy. And Israel turned him on, he likes it here. And I don't think for a person that came here like myself 49 years ago, there's no place better to bring up kids for Jewish people than Israel.
And just to clarify, so I understood that he signed for 2 years. When is that going to begin? When would he actually arrive here and start living here?
He's probably landing right now.
Yeah?
He's going to be here, this week. He's going to be coming for a week with Omri Caspi, brings players from the NBA. But, probably by the end of the month, they'll all be here and get ready. He has to get his kids into school, which is another thing. Got American schools up there. He's a family person. He's not just coming by himself, and he's coming with a whole family, a crew.
So it's a whole process. I mean, it's really exciting. I can only imagine how he must be.
I'm happy for him that, that he found his way to come here, and like I know other people of different religions that find their way to other places, and I'm sure he's going to be very happy about it.
Absolutely. I mean, this is clearly a big dream of his to have the chance to live here, and he's able to continuously pursue playing basketball, which he loves to do, and in a place that he also loves. So, how do you think the fact that such a big NBA All-Star is going to be playing here in Israel will actually change basketball in this country?
Well, I don't think it's going to change basketball. I think it's going to improve basketball. First of all, the gyms are going to be full everywhere he goes. People are going to come and pay money to see them play, which is very important for the clubs themselves. He's a very physical guy. He can play different positions. He has a lot of experience. From what I understand, he's a great guy. I mean, I've seen interviews with him on TV. I've never spoken to him personally, but he likes to laugh. He likes to be together. And it also depends on who the other players are on the team and how it fits. It's not just Amar'e Stawdamire against the world. It's Hapoel Jerusalem.
Absolutely, which also just won the championships in Israel last year.
No,
so
2 years ago.
2 years ago, sorry.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's still a big deal because it was the first time in their history, right?
Yep. Yeah, Franco did a great job, and he's moved on, and they've moved on, and, Amar'e's here, and God bless him.
So we can only assume that greater things will be happening for this team now that he's arrived. Do you think the fact that Stoudemire is now coming to play in Israel is going to be an opening for more NBA players, or perhaps more of a push for certain NBA players to come and play in Israel after they finish their careers in the United States?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. I think the managements here are going to begin to understand that instead of bringing 5 or 6 Americans and spreading the money, it's better to bring 2 or 3 Americans like they did when I was coaching 20 years ago, and you had a better talent of American, a better personality and everything. I think they're going to go after the players. There was an NBA player that played in Hapoel Tel Aviv last year. There's an NBA player playing in Hapoel Jerusalem this year. People retire. You have to understand, in America, every year at least 1,000 top-notch ball players graduate, and there aren't 1,000 openings. They're the same amount of openings. So It goes all over the world. What surprised me and showed me that Amar'e really wanted to come here was he turned down a $5 million contract in China to come here for a lot less money. And that just shows me, I think he was sick and tired of the NBA, a physical reason also. I mean, he's 14 years, he made a lot of money. I saw his name and I wish him well, you know, God bless him. He made a lot of money and he's here for...
At this point it's pursuing other dreams as well. It's not just about the basketball.
Also bringing up his kids.
Yeah. And this is definitely a beautiful place to do that. You know, let's talk about also Nate Robinson for a little bit, because he also was just here. What's going on with him?
Oh, I really don't know what he's the type of kid that he announced that he wants to go play in the NFL. So I think he got hit in the head a couple of times too many because something's not functioning there. But, you know, I mean, he was a really talented guy, but he was problematic when he was here, which I don't see Amar'e being problematic. I think it's going to be a whole different thing. He was really problematic. I mean, there have been good NBA players that came here. Purvis Short, who was a great NBA player, played here for a couple of years in Hapoel Tel Aviv, and he was a very positive influence on the team. There are guys that come here that I think Nate Robinson has his own problems, and he came because of a friend of his played on the team at the same time.
And speaking about those problems, obviously playing in the United States is different in many senses than it is to play in Europe and even a place like Israel. Do you think there's going to be any issues with the transition for Amar'e and playing styles, if at all?
Well, for sure, there are different styles. First of all, he's going to be playing with a different caliber of player. And he's going to be playing against a lower caliber player against him. There are certain rules that are different here than in the States. First of all, it's a 40-minute game. It's not a 48-minute game. Then the walking rule is very important here because they call a lot more than they do in the NBA. But he'll get used to it. I mean, you know, people acclimate themselves or they don't.
Well, and it's also nice to have a shorter game and to be an all-star that's going to be playing against people who aren't necessarily as...
Well, you have to understand, he didn't come here to score 30, 40 points a game. He came here to play 15, 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes, twice a week.
Pick his kids up after school.
No, well, not just that. Yeah, all right. But I'm just saying, it's a different period in his life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming in and shedding some light on this. I think we're all very excited.
It's always been a pleasure in the room with you.
Great. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.